What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to the Life to Metal. It's time for yet another rock metal update. That's right. Time for another rock metal update. This one's gonna be mostly rock stuff as opposed to my last couple videos, which was all thrash metal, death metal, power metal, that kind of stuff. This is going to be a lot of the more what I call 70s metal. I know people will argue with me till they blue in the face that metal didn't exist in the 70s. I don't know. I lived it. I was a metalhead in the 70s, so whatever. You're going to have a hard time convincing me otherwise. But some of this stuff is just really interesting, and if you're just a casual fan of some of these bands, it may not be worth picking up. But let me get right into some of these albums, because the first, I showed this one on the Metal Roundtable, but this is the 2024 remix pressing of Machine Head. Now, this is an album I've had since the 70s. I played it a bazillion times. I know it inside and out. It's one of my all-time favorite records. Love Deep Purple, but especially this one, you know, in rock. Any of those early Deep Purple albums are just fantastic, and I've heard it a bazillion times. Now, what you got here is the remixed version. Okay, so what's the difference between a remix, sorry about the camera, remixed version and a remastered version? So remastered doesn't mess with the mix at all. So you're taking the already, you know, the sound as it is, and you're just EQing it, basically. So you're bringing out certain frequencies, certain parts. Maybe you're bringing the vocals out a little more. But you're not really changing the mix. The mix is when you go back and you take the individual, the vocal track, the guitar tracks, the drum tracks, and you're actually starting from scratch and remixing it, and then it gets mastered again. So this is a remixed version. So what's the difference? Remastered versions, you might hear things that you didn't hear before because it's like the frequencies are brought out more. It's like, oh, I never realized that that bass part was there because the bass might have been a little more buried in that one. But on a remixed version, you may have different takes on things. You may have a completely different guitar solo. You may have a completely different drum take or like vocal parts that were cut out, and that's what you get going on here. So if you are one of those fans like myself who have heard this album a bazillion times, to hear a remixed version with like additional parts or different parts, it kind of gives it a new vibe, and you're like, I listened to this thing the first 2 times, and then I was working while I was listening to it, so it's kind of background music. But even as background music, I still was like, oh wow, that's cool, I never heard that before. Oh, that's different, oh, that vocal part was never there before. So you're just kind of hearing things that weren't there before, so it's kind of a different take on a classic album. This particular album was remixed by Dweezil Zappa from the original analog tapes, and it also includes the track that was cut from the album for whatever reason. Only releases, I think, a B-side single, which was When a Blind Man Cries. There's no track line on the back, I forgot. It just came to my head all of a sudden. But yeah, this is well worth picking up. It's not an expensive album. It has got the original, artwork. It's got the gatefold sleeve. It's got the original poster lyrics that were handwritten in there. So it's well worth picking up if you're a Deep Purple fan, even if you already own the original, just to give it a different listen, a different perspective. I really, really enjoyed it. And that whole explanation I just gave on that one, same thing here. So this is they're calling it the alternative versions, I believe. Thin Lizzy Jailbreak alternative version. Thin Lizzy's classic album like you've never heard it before, featuring alternative versions of classic tracks. So once again, you get different guitar parts, different guitar solos. You're hearing vocal things that weren't there before. Apparently they recorded even some like intros to songs that were cut out and decided not to be used, and you hear them on here. So it's just another one of those albums. Jailbreak's one of those albums I've heard 1,000 times, and it's got 2 of their biggest hits on there in Jailbreak and Boys Are Back in Town. Jeez. But it also has, let's see, Angel from the Coast, Running Back, Romeo and the Lonely Girl, Warriors, which is a fantastic track, The Kids Are Back, Cowboy Song, which is always a concert favorite, and one of their heavy tracks from the 70s called Emerald. Yeah, great song. It does feature the original inner sleeve artwork on the cover, though, which is quite cool, of the band kind of breaking out of jail with the explosion. It's kind of fun. Similar back cover, but it's got I believe those are different photographs. It's just a different take on the original album. Those familiar with the Destroyer remix album that came out several years ago kind of has like that same similar vibe, where you're hearing alternative takes, alternative guitar solos, intros that weren't there before. Again, Another album. Now, if you're a casual fan of Thin Lizzy and you only like the hits, it's probably not worth picking up. But if you're a fanatic of bands like that, myself, then it's definitely worth picking up. All right, I got 3 albums from this band, and they're all unusual releases. And gosh, I haven't actually shown anything from this band in a while, and it's unusual because if you're a fan of my channel at all, you know that I'm an Aerosmith fanatic. But I picked up this cool Aerosmith Greatest Hits Korean pressing. It's not the exact same as the Aerosmith Greatest Hits that came out here in 1980. I think the original Greatest Hits came out, which oddly enough is one of the best-selling Greatest Hits albums of all time, that Aerosmith Greatest Hits album. And so it's got a different take. So it's got Last Child, Dream On, Draw the Line, Sweet Emotion, and Walk This Way, Come Together, Back in the Saddle, Same Old Song and Dance, and Kings and Queens. So it's not exactly the same. It's a different order. It's got some of the same songs, but it doesn't have even all the songs that were on the other Greatest Hits album. There's nothing from, say, Night in the Ruts on here at all. Let's see. I don't remember if Last Child was on the original or not. I haven't looked at the original Greatest Hits album before doing this video. But yeah, just a cool, collector's item for the Aerosmith fanatic, which I am. Always looking for unusual, Aerosmith pressings of stuff, singles, stuff like that, bootlegs, like this one. This is a kind of a classic bootleg that hardly ever shows up. I actually found this one on eBay. eBay doesn't usually allow bootleg sales, but I scored this one, so I'm glad. So this one was released in the 90s. It was recorded in the 90s too. It's called Flight of the Owl, and it's got Same Old Song and Dance, F-I-N-E, effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. It's got Monkey, they call it Monkey, but it's Monkey on My Back, Permanent Vacation, Janie's Got a Gun, Mama Kin, Voodoo Child, Voodoo, not Voodoo Child, Red House by Jimi Hendrix, so you can see where I got Voodoo Child stuck in my head, Ragdoll, and Draw the Line. So yeah, a very cool bootleg, decent sound quality, and they kind of grade sound quality on bootlegs from A to, crap, A, B, C, D crap. But this one here is probably at least a B+ or an A-. It's very good. It's you don't have to your ears don't have to adjust the crappy sound on this one. It actually sounds pretty good. I believe it was a radio broadcast, which is why it's has that good sound. But this one is a German bootleg pressing. And then this one here is also a bootleg. It's called Aerosmith's Greatest Hits Live. It is not a Greatest Hits collection necessarily, but it does have live versions, and not live versions taken from official live albums. Same Old Song and Dance, Seasons of Wither, which is a fantastic song that they don't really play anymore. Sweet Emotion, Kings and Queens, Come Together, Dream On, Back in the Saddle, Walk This Way, Last Child, which are all classic 70s songs. Then they put on Janie's Got a Gun and Mama Kin. So there's one song from the 80s, all the rest are from the 70s. And it actually has the different places they're recorded from on here, and I looked them up and most of them are correct. So you've got tracks taken from 74, 78, 1980, 1984, 1987, and 1990. So kind of a cool, it's kind of a bootleg of the bootlegs. So they take bootleg recordings and they kind of made a compilation of it. And this, can't remember where, it's called I Love Vinyl. I don't remember when this one came out. I never even heard of this one until I kind of found it. And see, there's a copyright year on here, which is funny. There's even a copyright at all of a 2024. So it's a fairly new bootleg. I don't know where you could find this one at, honestly. I just lucked into finding this one. But yeah, you got the picture of them of Aerosmith. Looks like it's from the 80s as well. But like I said, most of the songs are from the 70s, and it's got decent sound quality. It does waver from track to track, being taken from different bootlegs, but it's all decent quality songs, and they did a decent job of mastering it so that your levels aren't jumping up and down. It's decent. Okay, getting away from Aerosmith, this is Kiss. This is another bootleg. This is I pretty much will buy any bootleg on the Vernier label. They just released a couple Thin Lizzy ones I so wanted, and I as soon as I found out about them, I ran to Rockadrome Records to grab them, and they were already sold out. Bummed. I'm really hoping they get more copies eventually. But this is Kiss Alive in Detroit, 1976. So this would have been the Destroyer tour. So you've got Deuce, Strutter, Come On and Love Me, Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse, She, Parasite, Nothing to Lose, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, Cold Gin, Rock and Roll All Night, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, Ladies in Waiting, Nothing to Lose. And then side D, or side 4, has She, Let Me Know, Parasite, 100,000 Years, and Rock and Roll All Night. I'm almost positive that those last 5 songs maybe not all of them, but at least a few of those songs came from a different show. But regardless, good sound quality, nice artwork, nice layout. It is a double album, and like I said, I picked this one up at Rockadrome. If you're a Kiss fanatic, especially the 70s stuff, that one's definitely worth picking up. Okay, this one's Thin Lizzy. This is a new release. This is not a bootleg that I'm aware of. It is on the Decca label, so I really doubt it. So what this is the original power trio Thin Lizzy from the early 70s, when they were kind of doing the Jimi Hendrix Cream, you know, power trio kind of thing. There's the original guitar player, Eric Bell, and drummer Brian Downey went in and they recorded acoustic versions of a bunch of different tracks. So you've got Mama Nature Said, A Song for While I'm Away, Eerie, Slow Blues, Dublin, Whiskey in a Jar, Here I Go Again, Shades of a Blue Orphanage, and Remembering Part 2. So, and all those tracks are re-recorded as acoustic tracks. And then what they did was they took Phil's vocals and some of his bass lines, and they, obviously Phil died many years ago in the 80s. They took his tracks he recorded with them, and they took out those vocals and those bass, and they mixed it with the new stuff recorded by the other two members, and they released this acoustic album. And it is awesome. And now, if you're a Thin Lizzy fanatic, again, like I am, this is highly worth picking up. I'm not a huge fan of acoustic albums. Like, I'm not really interested in picking up like a Slayer acoustic album or a Megadeth acoustic album. It's not why I listen to Slayer and Megadeth. But Thin Lizzy, especially the early power trio stuff, it lends itself really well to that. And it's like, let's see, there's a hype sticker on here, a huge hype sticker, as you can see. It's like, gosh, it's got to be like 2-inch or 3-inch hype sticker. But it says, a concrete, man, it's kind of hard to read that type. A concrete-driven acoustic album featuring original vocals from Phil Lynott and new guitar recordings from founder Eric Bell. Includes the first ever acoustic version of the legendary Whiskey in a Jar. So like I said, really good acoustic album from Thin Lizzy. I think there's 2 different pressings of this. There's like a black, this one's obviously kind of a line art with flat color. I kind of like the graphics like that. There's also a black and white one where there's no color and it's just the outline of it. And I think it's got a different color vinyl. I don't know if it's got any different songs on it. I haven't looked into it that far, but everyone I've known who's picked this thing up has been really impressed with it. So if you've been wondering about it, I give it a thumbs up. It's really good. All right, got a few more going on here. So we got quite a few going on here, so I'm going to keep going. 12 minutes in. All right. This is, I've been just kind of looking for others from this band. This is Teaze, One Night Stand. I've had one of their albums forever, and I really liked them, but I kind of like, I don't know, you put a band on the shelf, sometimes you forget about it. Well, then a buddy of mine who's got a channel called Blackmore Rules, check him out if you haven't, sent me a live album from them. I think it's called Live in Japan or One Night in Japan, something like that. And that re-sparked my interest in this band, and I pulled out the other album that I had, and I gave that one a listen. And then I started looking for more, because I just was really into it. So these guys are kind of like, I'm going to say, kind of glammy 70s heavy metal. So they kind of take they kind of have that heaviness of like a band like, you know, Judas Priest or even like Canadian band Godot. These guys are Canadian, but they have the kind of pop sensibility to the songwriting and to the hooks. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. It's just solid hard rock from the 70s. This I think was their 3rd album. I'm kind of educated guess there, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm looking for a really good copy of their first album. It seems the Japanese pressings of the first album are easier to find than an original Canadian pressing. So if anybody knows where I can get an original Canadian pressing of the first Teaze album, I'm definitely looking for that. But yeah, this album is in almost mint condition. I mean, absolute cherry. It looked like it had never been played. Not a single pop on it. The only flaw in it is this was either a cutout version or a promo version, because you can see it's got the little hole through the whole thing right there. Back in I think it was in the 80s, they started punching holes through and putting them in, you know, these discount bins. So it may have been a discount bin record back then, or it may have been a promo record, because they did that promos too. There's no gold foil on it or anything, but still, great album, glad to have it. A little hole in the cover is not going to stop me from listening. Speaking of Japanese pressings, this is a Japanese pressing of the first Bow Wow record. You can see the Bow Wow, who eventually changed their name to Bow Wow due to the American band called Bow Wow Wow. So Bow Wow became Bow Wow. These guys were a Japanese heavy metal band. They started in the 70s. This was like 78, I think. Might even been earlier than that. So I'm just thinking, see if there's a clear date on the back somewhere, and I do not see one. I think it was, oh yeah, 76, so I was even off by 2 years. So yeah, this is 76, but a fairly heavy album, obviously inspired by the likes of Judas Priest and Black Sabbath at the time. They continue on to release multitudes of other records under the names Bow Wow and Bow Wow, and I've just been slowly collecting them up as I go on, and I found this one for a great price. It's in really good condition. The only small flaw is kind of a little bit of a bend in the obi strip. Like, that's a big deal, but the sound quality is great. Yeah, if you're into 70s rock or 70s heavy metal stuff, Bow Wow are worth checking out. Like I said, Japanese band, their stuff's not real expensive. You can find it fairly inexpensively. I picked up some of their albums like in mint condition for 15 bucks, so which is about as cheap as you're going to get vinyl for these days, unless it's, you know, garbage. Another, picked this up from the same seller, but this is, I love this album. This is Flame. This is Queen of the Neighborhood. This is, again, 70s hard rock. Kind of has that raw, gritty New York attitude to it. The vocalist in this band, she kind of has this, I don't know, kind of raspy Janis Joplin quality to her voice. And of course, what turned me on to this band back in the, gosh, it had to be the early 80s. Like, I think I discovered this album in like 82 or 83, 84, somewhere around there, because I was a huge Aerosmith fan when I was in high school, and Jimmy Crespo kind of joined Aerosmith in 79. Well, of course, I started looking, where did Jimmy Crespo come from? Back then we didn't have internet, so it wasn't as easy to, you know, discover these kind of things, but kind of found out he came from Flame. I immediately started looking for Flame albums, going to the record stores. Hey, you got any Flame records? And the one I found was this one. Didn't realize I even had 2 records at the time, but I found this one. I still have that original American pressing to this day, but when I ran across this Japanese pressing, I'm like, oh, I'm all over that, especially because it has the original obi strip. There's a minor flaw in it. The original obi strip has a piece of paper from here to here. It's just white, but that little piece of paper, the glue kind of disintegrated and it's missing. Literally all I need to do to fix it is cut a piece of paper in the same, you know, it's like a 60-pound gloss stock, and just cut a piece of paper that size and it will be back to the original, which I probably will end up doing eventually, because I'm just kind of that anal about my my record collection. But other than that, it's in pristine condition. Has the original Japanese sleeve inside of it. If you're like into gritty hard rock from the 70s, again, Janis Joplin style female vocals, you're gonna dig it. It's got great hooks, great, just solid guitar solos, and just great music. Okay, Ben, as you guys, if you've watched any of my last few videos, you know that I've kind of been in this 70s vibe. I've been listening to a lot of stuff like Mott the Hoople and Humble Pie, and I've been looking for a decent copy of this one. I had a copy of this back in my first collection, which I sold in 1990. I believe I had the European pressing back then. This happens to be the American pressing. I don't remember, for the life of me, I cannot remember if there was much of a difference other than, you know, 2 different pressings. I don't think there was like different songs or anything like that. This is one you guys can kind of school me on, because as much as I've been into Humble Pie recently, I haven't looked into this one enough. I'd love to know, what do you guys know? Is there a big difference between the European version and the American pressing? Because I just can't remember, because it was, gosh, I sold that copy back in 1990, and, you know, so I was back in the 80s. That was, you know, just a couple years ago. But yeah, this copy is in cherry condition, really good, and that's what I was looking for. I wanted a player copy that I could listen to without a bunch of, you know, static clicks, pops, and dirt, and this one was great. And the other problem with this one is it's not really been reissued that I'm aware of, so copies are kind of expensive. I mean, these things are selling for anywhere between 50 and 100 bucks, depending on the condition. I lucked out on this one and got it for well under 50 bucks, but it wasn't that much under. But I really wanted it. I waited for a long time to find a copy, and I finally scored this one. And Humble Pie, this is early stuff, so this is not quite the glamier stuff they were known for. This is actually when Peter Frampton was still in the band. So you have, you know, 2 huge guitar players in the band, with Steve Marriott, obviously, and Peter Frampton. And this was, like I said, their first album, and I can't remember what year it came out. It might have been like 68 maybe, or 69. So yeah, it's a long time ago. Again, I'm not an expert on Humble Pie. You know, I can talk Thin Lizzy till I'm blue in the face. Humble Pie is one that I know and love, but I'm not ingrained in their history like I am some other bands. So you easily can school me if you want to. And then this is another bootleg, again on the same label I showed for the Kiss bootleg, the Verne label, I believe. So it's got obviously really cool graphics, great artwork, great quality music. I mean, if you like the early Humble Pie stuff with Peter Frampton, then there's a young Peter Frampton there, and you can see, you know, the original band. This is a fantastic, fantastic live album. It's nothing but a jam. I think there's only like 5 songs. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs on here, but it takes up the entire disc. So you've got Shakin' All Over, which is a 12-minute jam, a little over 12-minute jam. You've got Hallelujah, I Love Her So, which is a shorter 4-minute song. You've got For Your Love, which is a 9-minute version of that track. Then you've got The Sad Bag of Shaky Jake, which is 4 minutes, and then I was the Gilded Splinters. That font is a little funky, hard to read, and that track is 21 minutes. Again, just nothing but a jam. So if you're into that, you know, late 60s, early 70s Humble Pie stuff, especially if you're a fan of, you know, any Humble Pie, if you're a fan of Peter Frampton, this early stuff is it's really worth checking out. And this is a great bootleg, picked up at Rockadrome. So free advertisement for Rockadrome there. Yeah, Humble Pie. Next up, we've got 3 albums. This is actually the last of them from the same band. These are all Record Store Day releases, but this is from the most recent Record Store Day. This is the alternative version of Desolation Boulevard from Sweet. And when I say alternative version, it's got like live versions and demo versions of those tracks. So you've got, and it looks like they took the track listing from the American version, because there is a huge difference between the UK version of Desolation Boulevard and the US version. Basically, the US version is a combination of Sweet Fanny Adams and Desolation Boulevard, and the UK version is simply, they have 2 albums. So we got a 1-album version called Desolation Boulevard, which was basically a compilation of those 2 albums. Kind of like the first 2 AC/DC albums released in Australia, and the first album here was a combination of their first 2 albums. So, but what you got on here is similar track listing to the US pressing. So you've got a live version of Ballroom Blitz, a live version of the 16s, live version of Turn It Down, a demo version of Medusa, a live version of Lady Starlight, a demo outtake version, so a different version of Fox on the Run, a live version of AC/DC, a demo alternate version of Burn on the Flame, a demo version of Into the Night, and a demo version of Set Me Free. And this was, like I said, a Record Store Day 2025 release. Again, if you're a Sweet fan and you know these albums like I do, it's kind of fun hearing the alternative versions and the demos. I would have rather had it be an all demo or an all alternative version, kind of like the Thin Lizzy I showed earlier, or the Deep Purple, but it is what it is, and it is quite enjoyable. I actually like this one a little bit better. This is a Black Friday release of the Give Us a Wink alternative mixes and demos. So now this one doesn't have live versions on it, it's all studio tracks, but it is a double album set, and it's packed. It is packed with, so I'm not going to read them all, I'll just read a few of them. They do have a little interview section at the beginning with Andy Scott talking about the Give Us a Wink album. Then it goes on to a rough version of Fox on the Run, a German mix of White Mice, a German mix of Cockroach, a outtake alternative version of Action, a outtake of Lies in Your Eyes, an outtake version of, a Munich mix or German mix of 4th of July, and a Munich mix of Healer. And that's just record 1. So this is one you can still find on Discogs for a fairly inexpensive price. Some of the Record Store Day things, you know, they sell out real quick. I still can't find a decent version of UFO Youngstown on vinyl for under $200. So some of those, you know, albums sell out quickly and then they're gone and they're ridiculously priced. This one here you can still get for a decent price on Discogs and eBay and stuff like that. So I highly recommend this one if you're into the Sweet, especially if you're into their, you know, harder rock and 70s stuff. And then this one here is called Rarities 2. Again, it's like alternative versions of tracks, and it's all different stuff. So you got Forever Love, Breakdown. All these are like either rough takes or outtakes or alternative mixes. At Midnight, which is an instrumental version. Turn It Down. Toll Girls, Hey Mama, Fox on the Run, which is and these are all demos. On this actually I'm reading side D. These are all Andy Scott demos. Fox on the Run, Love Is the Cure, Where'd You Go, Make Your Mind, Eyes Come, California Nights, Silverbird, Stairway to the Stars. Yeah, that's just side C and D. Side A has Action, Rough Mix, Identity. Action's a great song. Identity Crisis, Oh Yeah, Lies in Your Eyes, Own Up, an instrumental version of that one, Strange Girl. So yeah, that's 3 of the 4 sides of that one. So highly, again, nice packaging, gatefold with lots of photos and information about the band. So if you're a fan of the 70s hard rock stuff that Sweet did, again, well worth picking up. Sweet, one of the original, 70s glam bands. And that's it for this edition. 25 minutes in. I appreciate you all if you hung out with me that long. Let me know what you thought of any of these. Again, school me on those bands that I might have mistaken on or I didn't know a lot about, like the especially the Humble Pie and the, what was the other one I was thinking of? The Teaze. Those two bands. I like them, but I'm not new to them, but I just don't know a lot about them like I do some of the other bands. So anyhow, that's it. Appreciate y'all watching. Y'all rule. God bless. Stay strong.